People sometimes ask me, what do you mean with these sounds of the universe? Can we hear them? How can we hear them? And I have the impression that the sounds are at the limit of what we can hear. Myself, I can just hear them. So what it demands is that our ears become much more tuned and much more able to hear subtle sounds that are coming, and the sounds that come are very high, from a very high frequency, and we need to tune those sounds down to a level where we can hear them and where we can embody them and sing them. We ask children, what do you see? We very seldom ask children, what do you hear? So our hearing is much underdeveloped, but is very subtle and very broad. It's one of the senses that is always awake. Very important part of Pansori Living Sound is training our ears. It is as if the brain and the physical body, as if these high frequency sounds are the language that is most easily understood by the body, by the mind and by the soul, endocrine system, the bloodstream, the heart, the organs. So this connection from the sounds of the universe to how we work with people is very direct. What is the singing voice and how is it different from the speaking voice? In the speaking voice, we use melody, we use pitch, and we use vowels. In the singing voice, there are two other aspects that are added to it, and that is vibration, vibrato, called in the classical singing, and brilliance. One of the things in the development of the voice of Pansori Living Sound, where we work on not only the pitch or the vowels or the vibrato, but the development of the brilliance in the voice, the high frequencies in the sound. Because these high frequencies are the ones that have the healing capacity. The singing voice is an instrument for all of us. Also for our personal development. When we sing for ourselves, it's very different from speaking to ourselves. The singing, because it is an instrument of vibration, has a very direct connection. It's different when I speak to you than when I sing to you. There's no thinking about the sound. There's no thinking about what I need to say. There's an impulse to make the sound. And in the Pansori singing, this part of the body has to be completely liberated and free to make any sounds that are needed. In that way, for people who are connected to Pansori, it is also a whole personal development. For me, it has been a personal development. I have been a very shy person in the first 40 years of my life. I could have never imagined to teach Pansori in different parts of the world like I'm doing now. And in those 20 years that I work with the sound now, the sounds of the singing voice has opened new possibilities, new options, cathedrals of sounds. Of course, in the beginning, it was not clear to me how profoundly the sounds are working. But luckily, when I sang for people, always there were ameliorations and healings in the problems they experienced. I worked with somebody who had had a brain damage and whose visual field was damaged. When I sang for her, after 3 times she had to do tests with the eye doctor again, and he saw that her visual field had grown again, which was very unusual according to him. And for that, I needed to sharpen my ears and also learn to listen to the field of resonance that develops between somebody I sing for and myself. And in that field, the sounds become what I have called later a vocal presence. There are sounds that can travel through this field, and in this field the healing happens. And I think that is a very important aspect of Pansori living sound, that we know we are a channel. I cannot determine which sounds are coming. I hear the sounds milliseconds before they come through my voice. And I listen very carefully to what they are telling me, because the sounds, because they are vibration, contain information about what we need to know about the situation. One of the things I needed to learn was how to work with this field that is there. That field develops, and in that field are places where the sound can go through easily. There are places when it is stuck. There are places where there are like scars or confusion. And sometimes the sound needs to do like a diagnosis of that field, and it travels and tries to find where is the entrance into this field. That is something you really need to learn, because sometimes after a long time, sometimes after a short time, there's suddenly a moment when the sound really goes into resonance with this field. And then there's a kind of a, we call it a click, like now the sound is in this field and now the effect of the sound starts. things. I once worked with somebody who had a spleen problem. And of course, we both thought that we had to work on the spleen. But the sounds went first to the kidneys, then to the liver, and then very carefully surrounding the spleen, and only after some time really entering into the spleen itself. That was very funny. When the sounds really entered the spleen, he told me, "Don't think too beautiful. You're too beautiful. Sing more rough." And in the beginning years, I often had the feeling all the different problems I worked with as if they were presented to me. You can work with autistic children, you can work with skin problems, you can work with people who are traumatized. So there's a very wide range for which Pansori is useful and applicable. When I knew that Pansori Living Sound had an effect for people and was like a healing tool that we could use, like an instrument, I had a dream. And that dream was, I called it later, the dream about the 5 continents. Because there was still for me this notion of the sounds coming from the source in the universe. And I realized that Pansori had to travel and had to go to all the different corners of the world. And of course, I didn't know how to do that. But in the recent 6, 7 months, this is developing by itself, by people asking me to work in China, to work in Malaysia, to do a training in Belgium, to go to Ireland, to go to Germany. An Israeli woman has asked me to go to Israel to work there. And now I am in the phase in which I prepare this expansion of Pansori Living Sound. And I feel that we are ready to bring the sounds everywhere. And what my dream is, that in every continent we have a small group of people who will carry on with Pansori there.